Hello everyone, my name is Nidhi Chauhan. I am assistant professor in Gyan Vihar School of Pharmacy, that is a part of the Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. So today we are going to discuss the carboxylic acid. So as we have already discussed carboxylic acid, that what is carboxylic acid and what is it make of, and it is a combination of your hydroxy as well as your carbonyl compound. Both of the functional groups are present in this. And its function group is COOH, and this carboxylic acid actually comes into your fifth unit in your pharmaceutical organic chemistry first, that is in your second semester. So in this carboxylic acid, we have already discussed that what are the method of preparations, what are the chemical reaction, what is the properties of this carboxylic acid, and how we will give it name, means naming according to the IUPAC and according to the common system. And plus, we have also discussed about the acidity of this carboxylic acid and compared it with the other function groups, acidity of this carboxylic acid, and also the effect of substituent on the carboxylic acid. If any substituent is attached or is bonded to this carboxylic acid, then what will be its effect on the carboxylic acid or the whole compound. So here, and also we have also discussed about the method of preparations and chemical reactions of different derivatives of carboxylic acid. And for example, we have also discussed the alpha hydroxy acid, beta hydroxy acid, for example, malic acid, tartric acid, citric acid. They uses their chemical reactions as well as their method of preparation, that how they are prepared. And also we have discussed the carboxylic acid as that these are also present in the natural sources, like citric acid is present in your citrus fruits like lemon, and this is also present in the lactic acid. Lactic acid is also a carboxylic acid. This is present in the milk, that is your salt milk. So this we have much discussed about this carboxylic acid. Now today we are going to discuss about the inductive effect of carboxylic acid, that how the effect of this inductive effects are happening on this carboxylic acid. And also we are going to study about the qualitative test of this carboxylic acid, and the student outcome is that they will going to know the effective, this how the inductive showing its effect on the carboxylic acid and what is the inductive effect. Firstly, we will discuss the what is the inductive effect and how it is happening in this carboxylic acid, and also we are going to learn about the tests that they are related to the carboxylic acid, means the qualitative test or you can say them the qualitative test or the identification test, which are used to identify the carboxylic acid. If in a lab we have given a sample of a compound, any organic compound, then we have to test it, that what this organic compound is. And for example, it is a carboxylic acid, so we have to test it and find out that what is it which that it is a carboxylic acid, or it is a aldehyde, or it is your ketone, or hydroxy means alcohol. So for this there are different tests, so we can test it. And also we are also going to test the ester amides in this qualitative test of this. Also, we are going to discuss this qualitative test of carboxylic acid, amines, and the esters also. So let's start the inductive effect. That what is the inductive effect? So the polarization of a sigma bond due to electron withdrawing or electron donating effect of adjacent group or atom is referred to as inductive effect. Means there is a polarization of sigma bond. As you know that there is a polarization in the sigma bond, means if the two atoms are attached, like in case of your hydrogen halide. So if in case that HCl is attached, so there is a your sigma bond between this H and Cl, and there is a polarization. That means Cl is negative, partially negative, and the H is your partially positive. So it is having the polarization, and here the polarization of sigma bond is due to this positive and negative effect is due to the electron withdrawing or the electron donating. If any group is attached to a compound a functional group, then due to that group, that may be your withdrawing group or your donating group. So withdrawing means that they are taking the electrons, like your chlorine, that your halogens. These are a strong, highly electron withdrawing groups. So if they are attached to any functional group, it means they are withdrawing the electron from them. So that is why they are having always a negative charge on them. And the electron donating means here that the electron donating effect means that the electron donating groups, like your alkyl groups. So they are alkyl groups are like your CH3 or C2H5. These are your alkyl groups, and they have the capability to donate electrons. So so they so due to them means due to the electron withdrawing or the electron donating groups which are attached to the any compound, then due to them there is a polarization of sigma bond in them, that is known as the inductive effect. So a sigma bond between two atoms which differ in their electronegativity is polarized due to the displacement of bond pair towards the more electronegative atom. In this process, the electronegative atom gets partially negative charge while the other atom gets partially positive charge. Thus, induced polarity is transmitted through the sigma bond in the molecule by creating a permanent dipole, and this phenomenon is referred to as your inductive effect. So in the inductive effect, what is happening? Ki a sigma bond between the two atoms, that I have already told you now, that there is a sigma bond between the two atoms, and if there is a sigma bond between the two atoms, it means there is a difference in the electronegativity. So there is a difference in the electron negativity, and due to it, it is polarized, and due to the displacement, and there is a displacement of the bond pair, means there is a bonding between the two atoms. So there will be a displacement. When there is a polarization is happening, then there is a displacement of bond pair, and this displacement of bond pair is towards the more negative electronegative atom. So for example, here if we take that HCl, so there is a polarization. Okay, so there is a displacement of bond pair. So here displacement of bond pair will go towards the electronegative, and in case of HCl, the Cl is more electronegative. So that is why there is a displacement of bond angle towards the electronegative atom. So in this process, the electronegative atom gets partially negative charge while the other atom gets partially positive charge. So it means if there is a displacement of your bond pair towards the more electronegative atom, then there is a displacement. Okay, so then the bond angle, where the bond angle is displaced, so that atom will get the partial positive charge, partial negative charge, and the atom from where the displacement occurs, so that atom will get the partial positive charge. Thus, induced polarity is transmitted through the sigma bond in the molecule by creating a permanent dipole. So here, this induced polarity that is transmitting through the sigma bond in a molecule, that is creating a permanent dipole. So here, this permanent dipole is transmitting through the sigma bond in the molecule, and this whole phenomenon is referred to as your inductive effect. So this whole phenomenon, thus here the induced polarity which is transmitting through the sigma bond, which is transmitting through the sigma bond in the molecule, so that is creating a permanent dipole. So that is creating a permanent dipole. So that is why this whole phenomenon that is happening, that is referred to as your inductive effect. So this whole phenomenon is referred to as your inductive effect. So once again, that the inductive effect, so the inductive effect, that is your polarization of a sigma bond uh, due to electron withdrawing or electron donating effect of adjacent group or atoms is referred to as your inductive effect. So in this case, the sigma bond is in the sigma bond, there is a polarization is happening, and this polarization which is happening in the sigma bond, that is due to the electron, that is due to the electron withdrawing as well as the electron donating group. And this electron withdrawing and in this electron donating effect of a adjacent group or atom on this electron group or atom that is attached to any atom, to any secondary atom, and there is a polarization in sigma bond, that is referred to as your inductive effect. So the polarization of a sigma bond means there is not this polarization is not happening in the pi bond, but it is only happening in the sigma bond. So that is why this inductive effect occur in the sigma bond, not in the pi bond. So the polarization also occur in the sigma bond, not in the pi bond. So there is a polarization of sigma bond, and which is due to the, that is due to the electron withdrawing. Electron withdrawing is which have the capability to electron that takes the electron from the other atom, so that they are the electron withdrawing group. For example, group or atom, for example, your oxygen, in case of your COOH, the oxygen withdraw electrons from the carbon. So there is a partial positive and negative charge on the oxygen and partial positive charge on the carbon. For example, in case of your HCl, there is a electron withdrawing, that is your Cl, that withdraws electron from the hydrogen, and hydrogen gets the positive charge on it, and that chlorine Cl, that is your electron withdrawing atom, and that electron atom, these halogens are having the capability to withdraw electrons from the another atom. So to complete the octet, so they are having the 7 electron in the outermost orbit. So to complete that, they need an electron. So they withdraw the electron from the another species, or you can say the another atom. So electron and or electron donating. So electron donating here means that the electron donating, they have the capability to donate electrons. So like your carbon, so here carbon or hydrogen, so they from them, their electron withdrawing groups, they withdraw electrons, and the carbon and the hydrogen, they have the capability to donate electrons. So that is why the polarization is happening in the sigma bond due to this electron withdrawing as well as your electron donating effect of adjacent group or atom, that is referred to as your inductive effect. Or you can say a sigma bond that is happening between the two atoms, sigma bond that occurs between the two atoms which they are sharing the electrons, and it differs in the electronegativity, which differs. It means the sigma bond which is attached, which is forming a bond between the two atoms, there is a electronegativity difference between them. So due to the electronegative difference, they are polarized, and due to this there is a displacement. So due to this, there is a displacement of bond pair, and this bond pair displacement is towards the more electronegative atom. So this electron displacement, displacement of bond pair is towards the electronegative atom. And in this process, the electronegative atom gets partially negative charge. They are getting partially negative charge, and the other atoms. So from where the electrons are donating, they are having the positive charge. So from where the electron withdrawing groups are withdrawing the electrons, so they are getting the partial negative charge, and from where they are taking the electrons, they are getting the partial positive charge on them. So the thus induced polarity, and thus induced polarity is transmitted, that induced polarity is transmitted through the sigma bond, and through the sigma bond in the molecule by creating a permanent dipole. And this is a permanent dipole that is happening due to the induced polarity and through the sigma bond. And this whole phenomenon is referred to as your inductive effect. So the inductive effect so the inductive fact, so in the inductive fact, there is a induced polarity due to which, due to the displacement of the bond pair, there is a electronegativity towards the electron atom. And here the one atom gets the partial negative charge and the another atom gets the partial positive charge. Next, it is represented by an arrow. It is represented by an arrow that is pointing towards the more electronegative atom carrying partial positive negative charge. So here, this inductive effect is represented by an arrow that is pointing towards the electronegative. Means the point of the arrow is towards the electronegative atom, and the back of this arrow is towards the electron positive, partial positive charge. They are having a partial positive charge. So they are the arrow pointing towards a more electronegative atom, and they are carrying partial negative charge. And the inductive facts, this so you can see in this picture, there is a halogen is attached to a carbon atom, and this carbon atom, the inductive effect is happening here as the displacement of the bond pair is towards the electronegative atom. So the halogen is an electronegative atom, so the displacement of your bond angle is towards the electronegative atom. So that is why it is having the partial negative charge. And the carbon, from where the electron displacement is happening, that carbon is having the electron positive charge. So the inductive effect, the polarization of sigma bond when an electronegative atom or group withdraw electron pair of sigma bond towards itself. So polarization is transmitted through sigma bond by creating a permanent dipole in the molecule, and the polarization fades away from right to left. So the polarization fades away from right to left. So in this inductive effect, you can see that the polarization is happening. Polarization of sigma bond is happening when a negative electronegative atom or group withdraws electron pair of sigma bond towards itself. So here you can see this is your electronegative atom, and it is withdrawing. What it is withdrawing? It is withdrawing the electron pair of sigma bond towards itself. That is why it is having a partial negative charge, and it is withdrawing the electrons from this carbon atom. So now this carbon atom is getting the partial positive charge. Now this carbon atom also needs electrons, so that is why it is also withdrawing electron from this carbon atom. That is why it is having the partial positive charge. Next, this carbon also needs electron, so it is also withdrawing the electron from this carbon atom. So this is having the positive charge, partial positive charge, and this is having the partial positive charge. So this is having the more. So this polarization is transmitting through this sigma bond. So this polarization is transmitting through the sigma bond, and there is a permanent dipole. So there is a permanent dipole in the molecule. So there is a permanent dipole in the molecule. So the arrow, the point is towards the electronegative atom, which is having the partial negative charge, and this polarization fades away from right to left. So here this is fading towards the right to left. So here this does not continue to the last, but it continues to the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 process only, not back of it. So here, this is a halogen that is withdrawing the electrons, that is withdrawing electron from this carbon atom, and from this carbon atom, this carbon also needs electron. That is why it is also withdrawing electron from this carbon atom. This carbon atom needs electron. That is why it is also withdrawing this electrons from this carbon atom, and this carbon is also in need of an electron. That is why they are also withdrawing the electron from this carbon atom. So here the polarization, this polarization is submitted through sigma bond, and there is a permanent dipole, and there is a permanent dipole in the molecule, and this polarization is fading towards the right to left. And this polarization of sigma bond, when a electronegative atom or group withdraw electron pair or sigma bond towards itself. So the silent features of this inductive effect. So what are the features of this inductive effect? Firstly, it arises due to the electronegative. So firstly, it arises due to the electronegative differences between the two atoms forming a sigma bond. So there is a difference of electronegativity between the two atoms that are forming a sigma bond between them. So this sigma inductive effect arises in that sigma bonds which are having an electronegative difference between the two atoms. So secondly, it is transmitted through the sigma bond. So this inductive effect is transmitting through the sigma bond, but they are not transmitting through the pi bond. So these pi bonds are not involved in any of the inductive effects. So the magnitude of inductive effect decreases while moving away from the group causing it. So the magnitude, as you can see in this, this magnitude is decreases as it is going away from this attached electronegative atom. So this magnitude is decreasing. This is decreasing. So it occurs up to 1 or 2 or 3 steps, not far from these steps. So the magnitude of this inductive effect is decreases as the bonds are away far from this electronegative atom. So it is a permanent effect. It may create permanent dipole in the molecule. So this inductive effect is a permanent effect, and it is creating permanent dipole, in the molecule. So this inductive effect is a permanent effect. This is a permanent effect, and it is creating a permanent dipole in the molecule, and it influences the chemical and physical property of the compound. So due to this inductive effect, there is an influence on the physical and the chemical properties of the compound. Means it influences, means it changes. Due to this inductive effect, there is a changes in the chemical and physical properties of this compound. So once again, the silent features of inductive effect, that firstly, it arises due to electronegativity difference between the two atoms forming a sigma bond. Means where the two atoms are forming a sigma bond, there itself arises this inductive effect. So if there is a sigma bond between the two atoms, and there is the electronegativity difference between that two atoms which are forming a sigma bond, so there this inductive effect is arises. Next, it is transmitted through the sigma bond. No pi bonds are involved. As I have already told you earlier, that this inductive effect is only occurring through the sigma bond, but there is no pi bonds are involved. So there is no pi bonds are involved in them. So the magnitude of inductive effect decreases. So the magnitude of inductive effect decreases while moving away from the group causing it. So the magnitude of this inductive effect decreases as the groups that are attached to this electronegative atom. So if they are far from this electronegative atom, so their magnitude is decreasing while moving away from this group that is causing it. Means the electronegativity, that the inductive effect is caused due to the electronegative difference. So if the groups they are attached far from this electronegative atom, then this magnitude will decreases between them. Next, it is a permanent effect. So it is a permanent effect, and it may create permanent dipole in the molecule. So this electroinductive effect, as we have already studied the electromeric effect. So the electromeric effect is a temporary effect, but this inductive effect, this is a permanent effect. So this inductive effect, which is a permanent effect, it is creating a permanent dipole, and this permanent dipole in the molecule, it is causing a permanent dipole in the molecule. Next, it influences the chemical and physical properties of compounds. So due to this inductive effect, there is a influence on the chemical and the physical properties of the compound. Now the example of your inductive effect. So we have taken here example. So that is your butyl chloride. So in the butyl chloride, you can say that the CCl bond. The CCl bond is a sigma bond. So the CCl bond in the butyl chloride, that is a CH3, CH2, 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 Cl is polarized, and it is polarized due to the electronegativity difference, and the electrons are withdrawn by the chlorine atom. So the chlorine is a halogen, and halogens are the electronegative. They have the capability to withdraw electrons, and they are the most electronegative atoms. So that is why the chlorine is withdrawing the electron. Thus, the first carbon atom gets partially positive charge. So the first carbon atom which is attached to this chlorine is getting the partial positive charge. In turn, this carbon atom drags electron density partially from the next carbon. So this carbon also needs electron. That is why it is also dragging the electron density partially from the next carbon, which also get partial positive charge. So the next carbon from which the carbon that is attached to the chlorine has withdrawn the drags the electron density on it, that carbon is also getting the partial positive charge, and this will continue further, and this is how the inductive effect is transmitted through the carbon chain. And this dragging of the electron density will continue further, and this is how one means that like this the inductive effect is transmitted through the carbon chain. So this due to this this is how this due to the dragging of the electron density, the electron effect is transmitted through the carbon chain. So this is the example. Next, the inductive effect weakens away along the chain. So as it is going far, so the inductive effect is weakening and is not that much significant beyond the third carbon atom. So beyond this carbon atom, on this carbon atom, this inductive effect is not that much effective. So the inductive effect is a permanent effect. This is a permanent effect and is inherit the molecule, and it is inheriting the molecule. While the electromeric effect, it was a temporary effect, and it is only created in the presence of the attacking electrophilic or the nucleophilic reagent. So the electromeric effect which we have discussed in the alkyl halide, that is a temporary effect, and it only occurs, that electromeric effect only occurs when there is a attacking species or the attacking reagent is present there. If the attacking reagent is not present there, then the electromeric effect will not generate there. If the attacking reagent, like if any electrophilic or any nucleophilic effect is there, nucleophilic reagent is present there, then the electromeric effect will be generated automatically. So that is why it is known as your temporary effect, because it is generated in the presence of your electrophilic or the nucleophile, in the presence of an electrophile or an nucleophile, this electromeric effect is generated. But this inductive effect is a permanent effect. This is a permanent effect, and this is a permanent effect, and it is occur due to the it occurs in the sigma bond, and it is generated due to the electronegative differences between the two atoms. There is an electronegative difference between the two atoms. That is why it generated. So once again, this example. So in the example of your inductive fact, this is the example of this inductive fact. This is a butyl chloride. So this is a butyl chloride. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the 4 carbon, because here is a 4 carbon. That is why it's a butyl, and there is a chloride. So, or you can say 1 chlorobutane according to the IUPAC. So here this CCl bond in this butyl chloride is polarized. This is a polarized because here is the electronegative difference. This is the electron withdrawing group, and from here the electron is withdrawing, and here there is the electronegative difference, and there is a sigma bond also present. In between them there is a sigma bond, and there is the electronegative difference between these two atoms, and the electrons are withdrawn. The electrons which are present on this carbon atom, it has been withdrawn by this chlorine, that is your halogen, the chlorine atom, and this chlorine atom, and after that this carbon also will get the partial positive charge, and the withdrawing atom will get the partial negative charge. So the partial positive means that it also needs electron, so it will drag. So here, sorry, so this carbon will drag the electron density partially. It will also drag the electron density partially from this carbon atom. So from this carbon atom, the electrons are withdrawn, and here this carbon also get the partially positive charge. Okay, next this carbon also needs electron. So this will also withdraw the electron density from this carbon atom. So this carbon will also get the partial positive charge. So this is how the inductive effect is occurring between the this inductive effect is transmitted through the carbon chain, this carbon chain. So the inductive effect weakens. So this inductive effect is weakened away along the chain, means this is weakened away along the chain, means if the chain is increasing, then this is decreasing. The inductive effect is decreasing as the chain is increasing. So it only happens to the third carbon of the chain. So this is not that much sufficient beyond the third carbon atom. So beyond this carbon atom, this inductive effect is not significant, and the inductive effect is your permanent. Inductive effect is your permanent effect, and it is inherited to the molecule, while the electromeric effect is a temporary effect, and it only occurs when there is a presence of the attacking reagent, or you can say a electrophile or a nucleophile reagent is present there. Reagent here, attacking reagent, means the electrophile or the nucleophile reagent is present there. Next is the qualitative test for the carboxylic acid and amines. So the qualitative test for this carboxylic acid and amide is that the test for carboxylic acid. So if we get a sample of this, any test sample in the lab, and we have to find out that which test sample is it, and if we are doing a carboxylic test on it, so what we have to take, that we have to take a few drops or a few crystals of the unknown sample. Okay, few drops means firstly we have to dissolve it, and then we have to take a few drops, or we can take the few crystals of that unknown sample, and then we have to dissolve that unknown sample in a 1 ml of methanol. Then we have to dissolve it in a methanol, and slowly we have to add 1 ml of saturated solution of sodium bicarbonate. So we have to prepare a saturated solution of this sodium bicarbonate, plus we should have a methanol there. We should have a methanol. After that, what we have to take? We have to take a few drop of the drop or the a few crystals of this unknown sample. Then we have to dissolve it in 1 ml of methanol. After dissolving, slowly we have to add there 1 ml of saturated solution of your sodium bicarbonate. So if that test is your positive, if the test is your positive test, if it shows if that test is your positive, then it is showing the evolution of your carbon dioxide. There is a removal of the carbon, evolution of the carbon dioxide, and which shows that this is a positive test. So due to the evolution of your carbon dioxide gas, this shows that this test is a positive test, and this shows that there is a presence of a carboxylic acid and certain phenols which are listed in the complication section. So it shows that there is a presence of the carboxylic acid and the certain phenol listed in a patient. So again, this test for carboxylic acid. So for the test of the carboxylic acid, we have to take the 1 ml of saturated solution of your sodium bicarbonate, that is NHSCO3, and we also have to take the methanol, and in the methanol, we have to take this unknown sample, a few drops of this unknown sample, plus we have to take the few crystals of an unknown sample. Then we have to dissolve it in 1 ml of this methanol. After that, slowly, we have to add the 1 ml of this saturated, 1 ml of this saturated solution of the sodium bicarbonate. So after adding the saturated solution of the sodium bicarbonate, this will show a positive test, and in the positive test, what you will get the phenol. You will get the evolution of the carbon dioxide. Means there is a evolution of the carbon dioxide in this whole reaction, and there is a certain phenols also. These certain phenols also, which are listed in the complicated section, also shows this test positive. So here the reaction is given. This is your carboxylic acid, and when we are treating it with the sodium bicarbonate, that is your NaHCO3, then we are getting here a salt of this carboxylate ion. So when we get this salt of a carboxylate ion, then we are also getting their water plus carbon dioxide is evaluated out. So the carbon dioxide which is evaluated out shows that there is a presence of the carboxylic acid in the test sample, or you can say in the unknown sample. Next is your for test for amides. The test for amides. So in the test of amides, what you have to do is we have to in the test of amide, this amide is tested, or you can say the unknown sample is tested with the sodium hydroxide. So first reaction is your reaction of NaOH. So here reaction of NaOH. So the amides are decomposed. Their amides are decomposed by your sodium hydroxide, and there is a evolution of your ammonia gas. So when this amide is reacting with this NaOH, or you can say this amine is decomposed with the NaOH, then there is the evolution of the ammonia gas. And the gas can be tested by a moist red litmus paper, which is then turned blue. So the red litmus paper means here that it was first tested on the acid, that is why it becomes the red litmus paper, means it becomes red color. After that, to find out that there is the evolution of the ammonia gas, we have to place that red litmus paper on the gas, so that on the gas, and then if it turns your blue, then it means that there is a presence of the ammonia gas, because the ammonia gas is a basic in nature. It is a basic in nature, and the base shows the shows your blue color. So here the reaction of NaOH, in the reaction of your NaOH, that amides are decomposed amides are decomposed by NaOH, and this NaOH, when these both are reacting, this amide and your NaOH, then there is a formation of the ammonia gas. And to detect that this gas evolved as a base, so we have to place the moist red litmus paper on this gas. So when it turns blue, that means that there is a evolution of an ammonia. So the reaction for is this NaOH is that the amide, that is RCONH2, is reacting with this NaOH, that is a sodium hydroxide, and there is a reaction and there is a formation of this sodium salt of carboxylic acid. That sodium salt of carboxylic acid is formed there, plus your ammonia gas is formed there. So how it is formed, you can see here, the RCOONA. So there is a formation of the sodium salt of carboxylic acid, and this NH2 is getting this H, and there's a formation of this ammonia gas is formed. Next is the alkaline hydrolysis of aromatic amides to aromatic acid. So in this, the soluble sodium salt of aromatic acid formed from aromatic amides upon hydrolysis is generated as white precipitates in acidic media. So here you will see that the aromatic amide, the similar reaction is happening there. So the aromatic amide is reacting with the sodium hydroxide, and there is a formation of the sodium salt of carboxylic acid is formed, plus your ammonia is formed. And this ammonia, when there is a formation of the sodium salt plus your ammonia, then this this is then hydrolyzed, this formed hydrolyzed, and there is a formation of the aromatic acid. So there is a white precipitate, and when we are hydrolyzing in the acidic media, so there is a formation of the white precipitate, which shows that there is a formation of the aromatic acid in there. Next is a biuret reaction for aliphatic diamide. So there is a biuret reaction for this aliphatic diamide. So when aliphatic diamide is heated to a temperature above its melting point, then ammonia is evolved and the crystalline biuret is formed. So this biuret in alkaline medium give a violet color with a drop of carbon sulfate solution. So here you can see this is your aliphatic diamide. Okay, so this is diamide, and we have taken the two molecules of this diamide, and when we are heating this diamide, there is a formation of a biuret reaction. So when it is heated at a temperature above its melting point, when it is heated, this two molecules of diamide, then there is a formation of this biuret reaction, and this biuret reaction, after that there is a formation of the biuret reaction, plus there is a happening of this biuret product is formed here, and plus the ammonia is formed there. And when this biuret is treated in an alkaline solution, when this is treated with this ammonia and there is a small addition of this copper sulfate, then there is a presence of this violet colored complex, and there is a formation of a violet colored complex is formed there. So in the biuret reaction for the aliphatic diamide, we have to take the two molecules of biuret amides. We have to take the two molecules of aliphatic diamide, and this is heated above its melting point, and there is a formation of a biuret product. When it is treated with the alkaline media and there is a presence, there is the addition of a copper sulfate, then there is a presence of this violet colored complex, and there is a formation of this violet colored complex. Next is the hydroxamic acid test for aromatic primary amide. So here the hydrogen peroxide is reacting with this aromatic primary amide to form the hydroxymic acid, and which then treated with the ferric chloride, there is a formation of a ferric hydroxymate complex, which is showing the violet color. So this aromatic amide is treated with this hydrogen peroxide, and there is a formation of this hydroxymate acid, hydroxymic acid, and this hydroxymic acid is when treated with this FeCl3, that is your ferric chloride, then there is a formation of this ferric hydroxymate complex, which is showing the violet color, and that shows that there is a presence of an amide. Next is your hydroxymic acid test for the ester. So the given ester is converted into hydroxymic acid by reaction with hydroxymyl and the hydroxymic acid react with ferric chloride to produce a colored complex. So in this, the mixture mix the given sample with hydroxyl hydrochloride and sodium hydroxide. Then we have to boil the mixture, and then we have to cool it, and then we have to add the hydrochloric acid and add ferric chloride solution, and there is a formation of magenta color that shows the presence of an ester. But in case of the amide, it shows the violet color that shows the presence of the amide. So next is the hydrolysis. So in hydrolysis, ester on hydrolysis, it gives a base given an acid or its sodium salt. So this ester plus base, it gives sodium salt of acid plus alcohol, and the procedure what you have to take, so you have to take the sample, then you have to add the dilute solution of sodium hydroxide, and it contains a drop of phenolphthalein as indicator. Then we have to boil the solution, then discharge of pink color of the solution that indicates the presence of an ester group. Then the test for lactone. In the test for lactone, the lactones are cyclic esters, and they give positive hydroxymic acid test. And on boiling with alkali, the lactone ring get opened, and on acidification, the solution regenerates the original lactone, and ester on the other hand get hydrolyzed to the sodium salt of an acid. Acidification of the solution gives the acid and do not regenerate the original ester. So this is the ester, this is the lactone, and when we are treating it with NaOH, there is a formation of this salt. Next is your questions. Which of the following is permanent electron displacement effect? That is your inductive. Which of the following is an application of inductive effect? That is all of the mentioned. Electronegativity is defined as the power of an atom in a molecule to attract electron towards itself. The factor on which electronegativity depends upon it, both valence state and the hybridization. What does the electronegativity get affected with the negative oxidation state? It decreases. Which is the correct order of decreasing? Minus I effect. So that is your D. And what arrange the following groups in the order of decreasing plus I effect? That is your A. So these are the references from where you can study this topic. And thank you so much for today's lecture.